Wow, 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 wow. Good evening, everyone. So excited. I'm so excited. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this webinar. So, this webinar is this is a 5 days webinar, and the series is tagged Redefining Your Parenting Journey. And today is all about me laying the foundation. My name is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. I am a family life practitioner, I'm a psychologist, and I help individuals and families to live a thriving life. I'm the founder of the Parenting Support System, the Smart Parenting Coaching Academy, and I'm also a co founder to the Gleeking Youth Development Academy. So, what do? We help individuals, we help parents, we help individuals to live a thriving life. And this evening, part of what we do, we provide tools and resources. And this evening, we are sharing one of the tools, which is the webinar. We help parents to create an awesome family life with their children. So, you're all welcome to today's live session. Good evening, good evening, good evening. So, let's go straight into it. So, today we'll be discussing how parents can redefine their parenting journey. One thing we need to know is that being a parent is a privilege and a blessing, which we should never, 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 never take for granted. Your role as a parent does not just stop the moment you have a child or the moment your child is off to school. Parenting is a journey, is not a destination. And just know that parenting is a journey, is not a destination. And as parents, what we need to know that when it comes to parenting, it's not just bringing forth the child. It's not all about bringing forth the child. It's not all about, for the men, donating your sperm. Let me not be crude, you understand? But there's much more to parenting. And for parents, we need to know that before we can parent our children, we have to know that parenting starts with us. Parenting starts with you. Parenting starts with me. Start with all the adults because you have to be emotionally stable. You have to be spiritually alert. You have to be physically fit and financially ready to raise a child. So in the 21st century, we need to know that the way we're raising our children now will definitely not be the same way our parents raised us. Although we might have some tools that we can bring from the way they parented us. Parenting in the 21st century has to be more in depth and more, let me put the word serious. Parenting in the 21st century has to be more serious and more in depth. So, one of the things I like us to look at is that parenting, when it comes to raising our children, is a deliberate process. It involves you loving, it involves you understanding and connecting with them. Without a connection, it will be very difficult for you to put rules and structures in place. Because what you'll be doing mostly, you just be doing what we call you're being authoritarian, being just the lord and the master of the home. And when we do that, it does not work well with children, especially children of this century, because they are more, they're more in tune to receiving love, to being affirmed and being accepted. Another thing we need to know about parenting is that parenting is not all about us just focusing on the intellectual or spiritual development of the child. Parenting is like a holistic thing, right? For us to have well balanced children, we need to promote their physical, their emotional, their social, their spiritual, and intellectual development. For us to raise our children into well balanced adults, for us to raise our children into well balanced adults, we need to know that parenting is not just about us focusing on one aspect of their development. It's about us focusing on a total the holistic picture of their development. You need to focus on the emotional, the physical, the intellectual, the moral, and spiritual development. Hi, hi, hi. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. So, today, all I'll be doing today is just to lay the foundation of what it means to redefine our parenting. So, I started by talking about what parenting is. One thing we need to know as parents is that for our parenting to be effective, for us to be effective as a parent, we need to have some skills. We need to have processes and systems in place in the home. We also need to be consistent in whatever we're doing with our children. Our ability to follow through is very important. Our ability to be focused and disciplined as parents is very important. Like I said earlier, parenting starts with you. You have to be a balanced parent. You have to be in a balanced place for you to raise well balanced children. So over the years, as a psychologist and I'm also a parenting coach, I've seen the negative effects of parenting. I've seen the negative effects of parents not having a cordial relationship with their children. I've seen the negative effect of parents not equipping their children with life skills to function adequately, especially when they leave home. I've seen the negative effect of parents not teaching their children values and not developing the right character traits in them. Also, as a psychologist, I've seen teenagers and young adults coming in for therapy sessions either due to depression, anxiety, mental health issues, some for low self esteem issues, others for behavioral and emotional disorder. And when I get talking to these children, they tell me things that they will say, oh, I can't tell my mom, I can't tell my dad, because they just believe their parents will not understand them. So when it comes to parenting, please, first, it starts with us. It starts with us being emotionally stable, being in the place where we are ready to listen to our children. Another thing we need to know about redefining our parenting is that in the 21st century, this 21st century, things that our parents or the ways our parents raised us will not be the same way we'll be raising our children because things have changed. However, there are lots and lots of good things they taught us that we need to bring into this generation. Things like the values they taught us, character traits they taught us, being decent. There were so many wonderful things they taught us. However, there are some methods they used in the past that we will not be using in this generation. And another thing we need to know is that as our children will be growing older, we will need to redefine our relationship with them. We will need to redefine the way we parent our children. So there's a way you would have raised your toddler or your young child. This way will not work well raising your teenager or your young adult. Another thing we'll need to redefine is our role. What are the things you do for your children? What are your roles? What are your roles? What are your responsibilities as parents? This is another thing we're going to look at. Also, our discipline method, our communication method, we might need to redefine this. Also, our expectations when it comes to our children. What are the goals we are setting for them? What are the goals we are even setting for ourselves as parents? What do you want from your relationship? These are all the beautiful things you'll be looking at. So for the next 4 days, so we have 4 days left now. For the next 4 days, we'll be discussing what it means to redefine your parenting, why and how to redefine your parenting. We'll be discussing the different strategies parents can use to raise their children, the different strategies parents are actually using now, and we'll also look at the most effective out of all these strategies. Another thing we'll be doing is that we'll be looking at how we can create a plan based on the goals we're going to set, how we want to raise our children. We'll also look at how we're going to put systems and processes in place so that it will enable us to teach our children the necessary life skills and values they need to survive outside our home. And finally, we'll be talking about how we, the parents, can take care of ourselves so that we will not burn out. There'll be no burnout. There'll be no burnout. So those are the things we're going to discuss today. So those are the things we're going to discuss for the next 5 days. So for the next 4 days. So today is just me doing the groundwork, talking about the basics. What are the things we want to do? What are the things we want to learn? That's what I'll be. That's what I'm doing today. Just laying down the foundation of what we're going to do, how we're going to, all the things we're going to do. That's what I'm. Today is just the foundation. The foundation. So let's go into it. So I've spoken about how, excuse me. Okay. Okay. So I've spoken about what parenting is. So right now I'm going to go into what it means to redefine our parenting journey. So like I said when I started, I said as our children, parenting is a journey. Parenting is not a destination. Parenting is not that, oh, I've had children, that is it. Parenting is not that, oh, my children are out of high school, that is it. No, parenting is a journey. And for us to redefine our parenting journey, we have to look at the things we are doing now. It involves us reviewing the things we are doing now. It involves us taking a critical look at how we're raising our children, the methods we are using, what values are you placing on them, what process, what systems do you have in place? Are these things effective? Another thing we'll be looking at is you'll be looking at our roles and responsibilities as parents. The roles and responsibility of parents, these are very important because in this generation now, there are a lot of things happening that if we don't retreat our roles and responsibility to face the new challenges and complications happening right now, it might cause troubles or issues in the home. So, first and foremost, I'm going to ask some questions. I'd like us to look at these questions. When we look at these questions, we'll now go further. So, as a parent, do we have a clear plan of the future we want our children to have? Do we have a clear plan? Do you have like a clear plan? Okay, this is the future I'm envisioning for my children. As parents, these plans, the plans we have for our children, is it based on who they are, or is it based on our own expectations that, oh, I wanted to become a doctor, so right now my child is going to become a doctor? Another question I want us to look at is our children, have we do we have a clear discipline policy in the home, and is this known by everyone? Do we respect their originality and individuality of our children, or do we compare our children to other people? As parents, do we have a clear family vision or values that is known to everyone in the home? Do we spend time with our children? Do we have How do we track the time we spend with them? As parents, what influence do we have over our children? Who are the people influencing our children? Is it the trends? Is it things happening on TikTok? Or is it things happening on Instagram or Snapchat that is influencing our children? Do we have processes in the house that can ensure that we communicate effectively with our children? All these questions, all these questions are things we need to look at to ensure that so these are the things we're going to look at to let us tweak. Okay, do I have a policy for discipline in my home? Do we communicate? Do we have an open channel of communication in my home? Do I have a plan on how my children they are going to succeed? Do I have a plan for their future? What plan do I have for the academics? What plan do I have for the social life? What plan do I have for them learning skills? These are part of the things as parents we need to look at and we need to review, because it's very important that we do this. Another thing we need to look at as parents is we need to, you know, identify what are the things we want to change. So using the questions I ask, you know, I asked questions in different areas. The first was, do you have a clear plan for our children? Do we have a discipline policy in the home that everybody knows about? Do we have a open channel of communication in the home? Our children, do they know our values and our vision? Our children, do we have plans for their academics? Do we have plans for their extracurricular activities? Do we have plans for their social life? These are the important questions we need to look at. Another thing we can do is to identify the type of adult we want our children to be. So as parents, you of course there's something you're envisioning that, okay, I want my children to become, everybody will say successful, yeah. Everybody will say they want their children to be God fearing, or they want their children to be well established. Fine. But what quality traits do people that are presently doing these things, what quality traits do they have? As parents, have we sat down, have we taken our time to just, okay, think, this, what type of adults do I want my children to be? Like I said, today is just the us laying foundation of what we want to do. What type of parent do you want to be for your child? Do you want to be the yelling or the strict parent? Or do you want to be the parent that is very deliberate and calm, and the parent that is well skilled to raise their children? Do you have a vision for your children? Do you have a vision for your family? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves for us to know what we want to redefine on for this parenting journey. So, second question, what type of adult do you want your child to be? Let's just take a few minutes. Let's take a few minutes. Let's just think about it. What type of adult do you want your child to be? What are the character traits of that adult? Let's write it down. Let's take a piece of paper and pen. Let's just write it down. What type of adult do you want your children to be? What character traits, people or adults, this type of adults, what character traits do they have? Let's write it down. So, what did you write? So, it's very important as parents that we know that for us to redefine our parenting journey, we have to look at the way we're raising our children. Are we being authoritative? Are we being authoritarian? We have to look at the systems we have in place in the home. We have to look at the plans. What plans have you? What plans, what vision, what goals do you have for your children? Are you living according to the plans and the goals you've set in your home? What are your family values? What is your family vision? These are part of the things we need to look at as parents for us to know how we want to redefine our parenting journey. Another thing we need to look at is the parent child relationship. What relationship do you have with your child? One thing we need to know is that the parent child relationship is one that nurtures the physical, the emotional, the social development of your child. It is that unique bond that every child has with their parents. It is that unique bond that every child enjoys with their parents. It involves you nurturing your child. And one thing we need to know about the parent child relationship is that it lays the foundation for your child's personality. It lays the foundation for the life choices your children will be making. It lays the foundation for the overall behavior of your child. You know, when I started, I defined parenting. I said parenting is the deliberate process of promoting your child's physical, emotional, social, spiritual, um, and physical, social, emotional, spiritual development of your children. And the parent child relationship, the relationship you have with your child, nurtures these developments. So, if as a parent you do not have a cordial relationship with your children, it will affect these developments. You know, when I started, I also spoke about the fact that as a clinical psychologist, I see children, I see young adults, I see teenagers that I counsel, that I have therapy session with. And when we talk, there's some things they would say, and they were like, "Oh, these things my parents don't know about me." Or they could go say, "Oh, my mom is too strict. My mom is always shouting. My mom is always, you know." Some would say, "Oh, my mom is just too into my business. My mom is the helicopter type of parent." The relationship you have with your child will determine their emotional, their mental, their physical, and their social development. Very important. And the parent child relationship is a very unique one. So, as parents, our responsibility, one of the things we're going to redefine is that relationship. That relationship. We need to redefine that relationship. Tomorrow, I'll be talking about how the different strategies we can use in developing a proper parent child relationship. So, like I said, today is just for me to lay down the foundation to talk about what it means to redefine your parenting journey, how and why we need to redefine our parenting journey. It's very important that we do this, we do take a fresh look. You know, let's review the way we've been raising our children all this while. You know, let's review what the method we're using to raise them. Let's review our relationship with them. Let's review the systems and process we've put in place in our homes for these children. Also, let's review our role and responsibilities as parents. What are your roles? What are your responsibilities? What are the things you're doing for your children? Redefining our parenting journey involves us looking at our roles. What are the things we are meant to be doing? Basic role to provide for our children. Yes, that is basic. To provide basic needs for our children. We are to give them love. We are to give them attention. Every child wants to be regarded. Every child wants to be loved. Every child wants to be accepted. Every child wants to be acknowledged and valued. So our role as parents involves us doing this. Do we do them? Do we love our children unconditionally? Do we accept them for who they are? Do we regard them? Do we acknowledge them? Acknowledging means that so they're around you. You acknowledge your children, they're around you. Do we value our children? These are parts of our roles as parents. Do we give direction? Do we set rules? What discipline methods do we use? Do we set limits for them? Do we establish and follow through with the consequences if they fail to do what they're meant to do? Do we hold our children accountable for their behaviors? Do we protect our children from external and internal dangers? So these are part of our roles and responsibilities as parents. Do we provide proper education for our children? So when I talk about proper education, it's not just them going to school. Sexuality education, have we provided them with that? Digital education, how to use the internet, what they do on the digital space. These are part of the things we will be discussing from tomorrow. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us. Wow. Do we have a comment here? Let me see. Comments. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined us. Meant to be today, like I said, is just us laying the foundation of what we are here to do. And I said the foundation is just for us to be able to identify the different areas of our parenting journey that we might need to redefine. I started by talking about what parenting is. I spoke about our roles as parents. I spoke about the fact that as parents, we need to start parenting ourselves first. Are you emotionally stable as a parent? Are you physically fit? Are you mentally fit? Are you spiritually alert? Are you financially capable of raising children? Because these are very important questions we need to look at. I also asked a few questions. I said, as parents, do you have a plan for your children? Do you have a plan for the future? Do you have a plan for your role in the life of your child? Have you created plans for yourself as a parent? I also spoke about the processes and systems we have to put in place. What process, what systems have you put in place to teach your children the right things? Or do you just, everything's just happen anyhow? You guys wake up and, things happen. Do you have a system? Do you have, processes? Have you put these things in place? Are you consistent with your role as a parent? I also spoke about the fact that as parents, we need to love our children unconditionally. We need to have the proper parent child relationship. And I explained what the parent child relationship is. I said the parent child relationship is that unique bond that every child has with their parents. Do you have that unique bond with your child? And I also spoke about the fact that this relationship lays the foundation for your child's personality. When we talk about children, I said that then they are every child or everyone. We are a function of the way we were nurtured and our nature. And nurture plays a larger part in in our personality. So as parents, your child's personality is a function of the relationship you have with your child. Your child, the choices your child will be making in future is a function of the relationship you have with your child now. The overall behavior of your child, how mentally stable your child is going to be, how physically fit your child is going to be, is a function of the relationship you have with your children from today. There was something I posted a few days ago. I think it was last week. I said that the relationship we have with our children when they're younger, especially in their teenage years, will determine the type of relationship we're going to have with them when they become adults. So, my closing remark, I'd like us to go and ponder about it. What kind of adults do you want our children to be? What character trait does that kind of adult have? Are you imbibing this character trait in your children now? If no, please, I need you to write them out, character traits. Tomorrow, I'll be sending templates to all those that registered based on what we're going to do tomorrow. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you. You can leave your comments, and I would always get back to you. Thank you so much. So have a nice evening. Bye.